Good morning. Nice day. It always comes back down to the same phrase, the same question and answer. No matter what mood one is in, no matter how one feels, if one is having a wide enough perspective to be thoughtful in the first place, and certainly if one is listening to this podcast, remember whom you are. Return to one's senses is always the answer, because it's going to facilitate, expedite, accentuate anything that we're doing. Why? Because you're making a foundation wider, more perspective, more receptive, more sensitive to what one wants to accomplish or what one wants to understand. Mindful meditation is such an activity. For newcomers, the best thing to do is find a comfortable posture. Predominantly where one is seated and is in a chair or on a sofa. You could have your feet on the floor, or you could have yourself cross-legged. This is my recommended pose. Of course, you can be standing or laying down. It's up to you, but be careful if you are laying down that you don't fall asleep, because then you're just taking a nap and you lessen the value that one can get. And if you're standing up, the activity is probably more intense. So again, it's what are you doing? Are you thinking about other things? If you're thinking about other things, you're not thinking about being mindful. If you're not thinking about being mindful, then what's happening? You're not building new habits, new rituals, new intentions, new goals, new aspirations for one's positivity, for one's self-improvement. So, sitting in a comfortable posture, you may find there's a natural tendency to lean backwards. And if you do, then rolling up a towel and putting it under the rear of your buttocks, underneath your coccyx vertebrae, will help raise you a few inches so your hip alignment is on a level plane with your knees if you're sitting cross-legged. So that's a thought to keep in one's mind. To sit upright, to sit erect, that one is attentive and paying attention to what's going on in one's body, because we're going to get to that in just a moment. And being undisturbed. If someone is coming and asking you questions, then you're focused, which is the purpose of mindful meditation, or your concentration, whatever words you want to use, is you are undisturbed to be able to focus on our dialogue as much as one can. Again, we always need to be flexible and adaptive to what we're doing, what we're thinking, because everything in every way is changing in every successive moment of time. It is the nature of our universe. It is made of energy, the primal energy of creation, 14.6 billion years ago, so scientists say. From that exciting, explosive beginning, look what's come to play in our universe. First, it is so wide and vast that it is beyond our comprehension. There are so many stars and so many planets revolve around them that, again, it is beyond conception. We can imagine something, but still, big numbers that become meaningless. And then if we want to get more local, because, again, these numbers don't really equate to us having a good sense of understanding. Think about our planet Earth, our solar system Sol. Thinking just about this, our home base. Think of the diversity of life created. And in this instance, the Earth and Sun were formed 4.5 billion years ago, so say scientists. And for the first billion years, the planet was too hot to harbor any form of liquid like water. anything that might be a cause of condensation, it was burned off. As the Earth cooled over the first billion years, water began to form. Oceans, seas, rivers, rivulets, streams, all these different things. And then life began to form. Things became in such a way as to bring a sense of harmony to putting compounds together that created life. Again, science. So here we are with a basic background. And we're sitting comfortably and we're undisturbed. And because we're doing this, we're already relaxing. And we're also questioning what we're doing. Because if someone asks you a question of are you comfortable or not, you tend to ask your interior, your body, your presence, am I comfortable? Is there a pebble in my seat or under my feet or in my bed? You answer the question. And if there is, then you remove it. If it's not, then you kind of have a little sigh, if nothing else, a mental sigh, and say, no, I'm good. What we're doing in this part of our inquiry is we're focusing our mind's eye upon our physicality. Because oftentimes when one sits down to meditate, there are other, let's say, extraneous thoughts that we might be having. We're sharing with our mind, with conversations that we're having. A sense of electricity of our day already having begun. And as much as these things are most likely important or responsibilities we need to take care of at some instant in time, at this moment we're not so interested in these things. We want to be calm, feel at ease and tranquil. So that's our game in these moments now. Being aware of our breathing, this process of respiration we share, is an easy way for all of us together to find a sense of commonality. Homo sapiens breathe. But it's a different story, but only for around 500 million years since life crawled out of the sea and became amphibians. And from amphibians became mammals and all the other kinds of creatures on our world live out of the water. We're becoming aware of our breathing, thinking about each breath, elongating it a little bit, enough you can feel it, but yet not too much that it changes your comfort level. Again, we want to be relaxed. We want to think of ourselves being floating harmony within ourselves. Assured, safe, in a sense of grace, a sense of kindness, of growing understanding, of patience. A breath, if we think about it, has 4 parts to it. We inhale, again, longer and slower than usually, with intention, with purpose. And at some point in that journey, we come to being filled with oxygen. And we say to ourselves, again, most likely the conversation is not that noticeable, but we say we've breathed in enough, and we pause. When one pauses, there is an opportunity to express oneself. One can say thank you, if you like, just for having clean air to breathe, for having the capacity to breathe. Not everyone has this. And for being thankful for just being alive. This opportunity exists if one wants to take advantage of it. We breathe 15 to 20,000 times a day. You don't have to do it in every breath, but once in a while is always a good idea, because what does this do? It helps us remember whom we are. Bundles of miracles, yes? We've paused after our inhale, and then at some point there's a need to exhale because we want to get more oxygenated blood running through our system. So we exhale. And again, we want to do it longer and slower, more purposefully, because we're focusing on this process we share. And there comes a point when one has exhaled enough or all of the air out of one's lungs, and we pause again. It's like a bellows, in and out. And this inhale, pause, exhale, pause is 4 parts. And again, in this last pause, we have a chance to evaluate our world, to remember the majesty of ourselves, because each of us is a bundle of miracles for sure. Remembering, as we are talking about breathing and being understanding and kind, noticing and knowing, you are a multitasking creature. This is the way of man. This is why we're still here. That's why we've had all these innovations over time. That's what separates us from some of the other species, is we have this ability to juggle things. We have 2 hands, 2 feet, lots of fingers and toes. So everything has to be taken into account and understood of whom and what we are. This is a good beginning to do this. And then once we have put this into our mind's eye to be mindful of our breathing, let's add another physical process. Let's add our heart squeezing and then relaxing. And squeezing again and then relaxing. And so this goes on approximately 90,000 times a day. Every day, 90,000 times. Your heart squeezes oxygenated blood out of itself. And this blood begins to circulate through one's arteries and return to the heart through one's veins via the lungs, where it initially takes in the oxygen, and where vein side of it, on the return side of it, it displaces carbon dioxide back into the lungs, taking on a new load of oxygen, and one breathes out, all of this process. But what about this process in as far as, because we don't really control our circulation like we control our respiration. You and I can hold our breaths if we want, or we can hyperventilate. We have all these choices. But with our heart, pretty much, if we're sitting or standing or lying down, we're, in a sense, restful. So our heart's kind of on an automatic scenario. But what can we further gain from being aware of this process? Okay, something physical. Our pulse. Locate your pulse in some part of your body. It may be behind your eyes or your cheeks, or it may be in your fingers or in your toes. It may be, in your thighs or your buttocks or wherever it might be. If you find it difficult to locate a pulse underneath your thumb on your wrist creases, you can use a couple of fingers from your other hand and gently press in underneath the thumb on your wrist crease, and you will locate your radial artery, which is bringing oxygenated blood into your hand, into your fingers. Because all the cells in our body need oxygenated blood to energize them, to help them stay alive. So finding one's pulse and remembering one's breathing, both simultaneously. Having done these first 2, being understanding and kind again, because one needs to consider we're multitasking. And we're going to achieve more by being positive than being negative. We want to keep that angle, that bent in our relationship with ourselves as we investigate mindful meditation. This practice we're developing, we're making into a habit. And another thing I'd like to bring our attention to is our body's heat. As we breathe, we have muscular activity. Our diaphragm goes up and down, our lungs. As we circulate oxygenated and then carbon dioxide-laden blood, our heart is squeezing and relaxing. The muscle is working, creating thermal energy. With the circulation of our blood, this heat gets dissipated throughout our vascular system. That's it in a nutshell. We also get some heat from our digestive process. Being aware of one's heat, that's all. If you have your hands together, then you feel the warmth. You may even have moisture there. Something entirely different. Still part of our processes. Feeling one's warmth emanating through one's skin. Being aware of this too. So you have three things to simultaneously juggle. Further, we do one more. Being aware of deeper, something that's a little deeper than these first three. Not your breathing, not your pulsing, not your heating, but being aware of underneath one's usual sense of awareness, feeling one's vibration, feeling one's whole body shimmering with a tingling vitality of life itself, of the energy of our cells. We have 37 trillion cells as an adult. We're born with 1 trillion cells, and we begin our lives as one cell. In 9 months, we accumulate 1 trillion cells. And let's say in another 40 years, we accumulate an additional 36 trillion cells. So science says. These cells need oxygen, all of them. Not one of them, not half of them, not a third or 3/4. They all need oxygen. And the oxygen is their food, energy. And what's going on with this? They're all shaking and vibrating with elation that they're alive for another breath, for another moment. Being aware of these 4 different items: one's breath, one's pulse, one's heat, and one's shimmering majesty, if you don't mind my saying it like this. We are bundles of miracles. With this kind of perspective, it is easy then to be humble before what we are and what we're realizing surrounds us as much as what's inside. This universe, this creation we're part of. The earth revolves at 1,000 miles an hour. Right now, wherever you are, more or less 1,000 miles an hour, the earth is spinning. The earth is also moving in a circle, in an elliptical orbit around the sun at 250,000 miles an hour. Right now, these 2 different events are occurring, and we're moving through our galaxy at 500,000 miles an hour to circumnavigate the whole galaxy over a period of time. And of course, as we said before, the whole galaxy is moving away from that point science has postulated is the beginning of our universe at 1,000,000 miles an hour from the explosion 14.6 billion years ago. Awe, A-W-E, is a sense of reverence and astonishment. So if you look it up on the internet, amazement, a sense of reverence. Being in awe is a great way to accentuate what one is doing. If one can be in awe multiple times a day, because of the way one converses with oneself, with the information one shares with their own being, one remembers, then how much more significant and meaningful will your way be? Awe. Finding awe is a great thing to do. We are here now, meaning that we're being present right now. We're focused and concentrating. We are here now, bundles of miracles. Well, that's what we've been talking about. Humbled because of our awareness, our perception, by the immensity of creation. It's humbling, comparing ourselves to everything that is. Yeah. And thankful. Thankful because we have a chance in the first place to even think, to be aware, to have this opportunity, to share, to be a part of this world, to have families, to have friends, to have associates. And in looking around upon this great planet of ours, we see we need to improve. So self-improving is an important aspect of mindful meditation. One needs to seek out one's own virtuosity, one's kindness, for instance. We've spoken about one's sense of understanding, one's sense of grace, one's sense of awe, one's sense of experiencing with an open-minded, witnessing or objective basis without judgment, just to look and see, be aware, and learn, self-improving. Now, we've already gone over the amount of time that I would like to speak. There's so much left unsaid, but it's a good beginning. I admonish you on your own then to keep thinking and to digest more, perhaps thinking about one's own DNA and the evolution of man from whatever was created 3.5 billion years ago. Thinking about how lucky we are. The music goes on for another minute. Please linger and think. Namaste.